Hello, everyone, and I am sorry that I am late. My middle daughter's appointment was an hour late, and I'm only salty because we hauled butt to get there on time, and the doctor was like, meh. So, in order to get ready for this, I have tried to do dual cam, but y'all, it's me, okay? But we do have the fully endorsed petty patch because when I read you guys the table of contents, these state lawyers are having absolutely none of Scott Peterson. And oh my gosh, the snark, it's almost like if I wrote it. So this is the first page. All of these, the district attorney, the special prosecutors, the deputy district attorney, all of these people worked on this 337-page rebuttal to the fact that the Innocence Project uh, wants to do extra DNA testing. Basically, the Innocence Project is trying to point the finger at people who are possibly doing a break-in across the street, or basically anyone that is not named Scott Peterson. So since I wasn't really involved or even watching courts during the time of this, I was actually getting washed out from the military because apparently my ankles just do not like running. And thank you, good citizen, for joining. But this will be on replay. I'm obviously not going to get through the entire thing, but I do want to read the entire thing. So there will be many videos like my Frank's motion. If you haven't gotten a chance to read through that, I do read through that. It is about 5-hour-long videos, though. Welcome, Mom of 10 and Captain Kern. Welcome. So let's get to the table of contents because, oh my gosh, the snark. Welcome, Chris. No, murder mittens. No, Mom's skirt is loose. We are not doing an OnlyFans stream. For the love of all that is holy. No murder mittens. Yes, I love you. I'm sorry I left for an hour. How dare I? This is probably going to be Captain Dingus. None of the boys can say Wilfred. So Wilfred will be his, stage name, but is probably going to be Captain Dingus for now. Yes, he is very, very social. So Maine Coons are supposed to be very social, but he also doesn't like if I have to go anywhere outside of his general area, even if he walked away. So the table of contents, we start with the background, Lacey and the defendant, a new home, comfortable lifestyle, and their finances. And then we get on to where Lacey finds out she's going to have a baby, a low risk, healthy pregnancy. They named murder mittens. We are going to have issues if you keep trying to pull my skirt down. Stop. That's a whole different show. Naming him Connor, she was starting to have some dizzy spells, and the doctor recommended quitting walking. Obviously, at the end of any pregnancy, you're just tired and you are waiting for this baby to come out. Not that I know anything about that. Defendant predicted Lacey's disappearance. I'm getting a little bit of Chad Daybell ideas, like, I have foreseen by the powers of me that my wife is going to, not be here. He meets another woman, Shawn Sibley. So it wasn't just Amber Fry, it was also Shauna. And, just as things happen, a business deal becomes personal. The defendant is looking for a serious relationship while he has one at home, like the full snark. This is where the snark starts getting really wild. Lacey watches The Bachelor while the defendant claims to be one. Fishing in Alaska versus pushing Lacey in a wheelchair at Disneyland. Look, Scott Peterson, whether I agree with the evidence or not, is a douche. And, past me would have just, called him guilty for the douchery, but I am trying to be somewhat objective. But holy God, this man is just gross. A hike and a picnic at Squaw Leap for 3. He's also never been married and never close to having any children. The next section, the defendant watched or lost his wife. I mean, they have just snarkety snarked everything. So they do an ultimate timeline. So I do want to see how that really pulls up. Because, like I said, I was not into trials at this time. I was not, aware of how the state can kind of shade things. But yeah, well, and that's the thing, half Irish. I want to look at it with fresh eyes because I didn't really pay attention. So we might watch the trial if it is publicized. I don't remember if it is, but I'm trying to be a little bit more objective. So on Friday, December the 6th, he meets Sibley and she gives him an ultimatum by Monday. He has to be, not married or not having children. So Saturday, he searches for a boat. Sunday, he studies tides and currents in the bay. And Monday, he buys a boat but tells no one. Monday, December 9th, 2002, defending indicates this will be the first holiday that he would be spending without his wife. Again, Chad Daybell, you and him seem to have a, inside connection to God while you're cheating. Pretty sure God doesn't approve, nor do I. Welcome, Sal. So on Monday, he tells the defendant tells Amber he just lost his wife, like I do in Walmart. I just lose my husband. That's why I dress him in red. Defendant gives Amber a separate cell phone number to call. He had a burner phone, super guilty. All the burner phones and guilty. Welcome, Celestial Force. December 14th. Oh, and appraising and pawning Lacey's jewelry. Sir, you could, I didn't think you could get worse, but you are worse than the corroded trash water that ends up there when you put the trash cans out and then it rains. Just grossness. All just gross. Uh, Defendant takes Amber Heard and her daughter to a birthday party, December 14th, Lacey's last Christmas party. But the defendant is away on business and Lacey continues to prepare for her baby's arrival. December 23rd, the last day anyone other than the defendant has contact with Lacey. I love that they just went all caps, like big D energy here, just laying down the caps. He said a maid came into the house and mopped all the floors. Lacey gets groceries and goes to her spa appointment. The defendant does not want children, but he attends his wife's doctor's appointment for his unborn son. D, Lacey's doctor appointment went well. Connor is, ready to go, and she is feeling tired. Amy shows Lacey how to style her hair with a curling iron in Lacey's last phone call. Now, this is where it's going to get all the snarky, too. December 24th, 2002, a normal day in the neighborhood. God, I love the all caps. I love the all caps. Bike riders and a pregnant woman walking the dog in the park, but unfortunately, Lacey was told not to walk anymore because she was feeling quite dizzy. Look, the last thing you want to do when you are big old pregnant is go out on a walk. You are just waiting to, basically your life is just in the restroom. You're like, I gotta go potty 24/7. And you are full F deficit. Mackenzie is out. Everyone got their mail early that day. The Medinas leave town and see nothing unusual. The neighbor's work van is parked as usual across the street. Lacey didn't answer her phone. The defendant returned somewhere between 4:30 and 4:45 p.m. Now, on this day, on, Christmas Eve, he was supposed to be golfing, according to him, but he's out in this boat he's told no one about. Now, if your wife is largely pregnant, I would not, unless you know her better than me, I would not present her with a not asked for unwanted boat. Oh, Celestial Force, true stories. One of my friends was so obsessed with the case that after he was convicted, she went to San Quentin. She brought him, she brought back a gift, lifesavers. Ugh. I think the douchery would just overwhelm me, and it would bring my snark out, and I'd end up wanting to lay hands on him to help faith heal him. It was only for faith healing, I promise. I would not reach out and touch someone resoundingly on a pressure point for any other reason. Lacey is missing. Now, after 40 or 30 to 45 minutes, the defendant begins to look for his wife. Allegedly, he was golfing all day and at the park. Police respond and start a systematic search. Some suspicious things, and a walkthrough with the defendant. I do believe he changed his clothes. That was going on. From what I remember, those 30 to 45 minutes were him changing his clothes, washing them before he, got anyone. Oh, well, Zach, future justice for Zach. If your wife was pregnant, you should buy her a treadmill. Well, future justice for Zach. I'm sure his wife is not going to be his future wife. So they do. He gives his first statement. They find Lacey's purse and a clothes full of hamper. I mean, everything in the house just looked like she was going about her regular day. This wasn't a weird thing. I know that, look, I don't dust baseboards. I can't reach them anymore, and I don't really care. But right before I had the youngest, most feral, it was imperative of me to bleach the baseboards. So she was probably going through nesting and things like that. The defendant does not know what he fished for or what bait he used. Yeah, if you're going to use, I was fishing in a boat that I told no one about, you should probably have researched what you can catch in the bay, just for a friend. Lacey's friends and family respond. A chaotic and surreal Christmas Eve in the La Loma neighborhood. A suspicious person investigation is opening. Where were you? Blood on my truck. Defendant learns a neighbor found Mackenzie, so Mackenzie is the dog. Christmas Eve photos captured the physical evidence. Detective Brocchini's walkthrough, defendant had already washed his clothes he wore that day. Defendant straightened the rugs on the floor leading to the driveway. Lacey's cell phone, marina receipt, 3 large patio umbrellas, 2 tarps, and unopened fishing lures. Sir, all you needed to do was go to Walmart, get muriatic acid, buckets, and, tarps. I mean, we do not buy unaliving supplies at Walmart. They have cameras. You order from Amazon like everyone else, you weirdo. Although I don't remember if Amazon was even a thing. What's the difference between a cactus and a school bus? A cactus has all the little things on the outside. I don't know. Wilfred was more for Wilfred Brimley, the diabetes guy. I don't know why he always comes up on a stream, but he generally does more than anyone. I talk more about him than anyone should without diabetes. But it seems like it's going to be Captain Dingus because no one can say Wilfred. And then there was no electricity apparently at this warehouse. So a lot of these things are things that I wasn't really paying attention to. He just looked massively guilty. A massive Christmas search for Lacey begins. Officers continue to search throughout Christmas Eve night. He can't sleep. They can't sleep. The family is still out looking for Lacey, and the police search intensifies. Quote, it wasn't Lacey, unquote. So there was another pregnant woman that I guess was about the same gestational period as Lacey, and she was walking around, so that did lead to some confusion from what I remember. Defendant makes a trip to his warehouse and returns with duct tape and a press conference. Christmas Day, Christmas interviews and attempts to eliminate the defendant as a suspect. B, inconsistencies with the defendant's statements. 1, morning decision to golf. No map and just winging it. Martha Stewart and meringue. Defendant left at 9:30 a.m. Lacey was mopping. Sir, if you left your pregnant wife to mop the damn floor, you should have taken that bucket. I mean, sir, acting just slightly human. would have made you so much less douchey. And we might actually feel bad if you were, in jail on shaky evidence. But right now, I'm kind of like, meh, he's a douche. Lacey was mopping and she couldn't lift the mop bucket. Lacey walked almost every day and planned to walk the dog. Grocery shopping for Christmas brunch. This is the sad thing. This is the part that just breaks my heart for Lacey because she had no idea that her husband was cheating on her, I'm sure, buying a boat. I mean, again, these are big purchases that you shouldn't make without, talking to your significant other. But she is so excited to have her child and she just doesn't get to do the one thing that she wanted to do. And it really pisses me off. Uh, Gingerbread versus gingerbread cookies. Lacey's clothed uh, long black or pants and a long sleeve white shirt. A force multiplier, a moistier, checking his emails, driving around with three large patio umbrellas. I don't even want to know what the hell he used patio umbrellas for. Two versus three phone messages, a 180-mile trip, quote, just to see if it worked, end quote. Fishing with silver lures versus saltwater lures. And he had a faithful marriage. Sir, you don't even know the zip code of monogamy. You have not even visited that town. Get the hell out of here with that noise. A fishy story. Police watch the warehouse on Christmas night, but not his home. The defendant vacuums in the front of the washer and dryers. Quote, are you guys using cadaver dogs? Defendant is upset that the police took his force multiplier and rags. Sir, it's called an investigation. Well, it seems I'll have to say, I think they're selective in that because Styx does all of the words and he's just okay. So maybe they've figured that Styx is just his own special guy and they're not going to stop him cursing. A Christmas call to Amber Heard, or not Amber Heard, whatever her name is, from Maine before bed. Community and media respond. Amber received her Christmas gift. You gross son of a biscuit. People continue their search. And here's the other thing. These are the victims that we don't really think about, but all those people who went out and searched, all those people that put their hope up, that put their, thoughts and prayers, if you believe in that, people were probably fervently praying for her, praying for him, doing what they could. And this douchebag is upset that the, police took some evidence. The media reacts and a reward is offered. The volunteer center is set up. Sent articles and search warrants. Street barricaded and the Medina's handcart is on the front lawn. Receipt for sent articles. Hello, Tammy Bogart. Oh, yeah, it is warm and sticky here. Look, I have heard Arizona is a dry heat. I just need a place that stays like 70 to 60 degrees all the time. Search warrant at the defendant's house. He has chicken wire, a claw hammer, and concrete debris, patio umbrellas, and blue tarps. The boat is covered in gas with chunks of concrete. I wonder if he does have a fishing license. Oh, he kept Lacey's jewelry, probably to pawn more. Home and work computers, please tell me you downloaded a file of your idiocracy so we can just put you away because you are an F5 douche tornado. Let's see. Search warrant at the defendant's warehouse. Camouflage jacket, fishing poles, and lures. Lacey's hair was found mashed in the jaws of pliers found in the boat. A homemade anchor without rope and a distinct circular shaped void left in the spilled concrete powder on the flatbed trailer. The examination of the defendant's boat. Saltwater and concrete debris in boat, and Lacey's body would fit in there. The defendant's lies continue. The defendant last saw Lacey styling her hair. The defendant is in New York and flying to Paris. One homemade anchor and leftover concrete. Bay searches begin when Lacey's scent is detected at the Berkeley Marina. The defendant accurately described Brooks Island in detail. Lacey's scent was detected in Berkeley Marina. Bay searches and dive teams begin. Divers battle zero visibility wind and currents. Amber discovers that the defendant's pregnant wife is missing. Dear God, could you imagine you're a single mom, you think you found someone really nice, and then on Good Morning America, this douche canoe of major proportions whining about his, missing wife who is pregnant. Y'all, the flipping that I would do, you have no idea. I'd be like, "Hello, police officers. I'm willing to get all the dirt." Like every single like do not mess with a woman and her emotions and with her daughter. Oh, I would be so pissed. And I think that's what happened to Amber Fry, to be honest. I think she started working with the police as soon as she realized this, because there are recordings, if I remember correctly. The candlelight vigil and New Year celebration in Paris. Defendants makes several trips to the Bay, but stays only a few minutes. Now, the thing about Paris and all these different places, he was lying to Lacey and telling her that he's, a traveling businessman, which is why, he might not answer the phone or have a weird phone. I mean, he is but a humble salesperson like Gareth from, Deep Space Nine. Let's see. Uh, Police begin surveilling the defendant, which leads us to his blue, um, leads them to, renting multiple vehicles. The police are searching for Lacey, and the defendant is making quick trips to the marina and plays games with law enforcement. Wiretap indicated defendant continued his trips to the Bay. Lacey knew about the defendant's affair, but no one else did. Police questioned the defendant about his affair and his doppelganger. Amber confronts the defendant about his lost wife. Defendant's affair is exposed. I think we can all remember that very awkward, sit down. I think it was with Diane Sawyer. And he's like, look, let's focus on the fact that my wife is missing, not that I'm a horrible, horrible person whose schmeckle should fall off. But that's just me, because I would have said that. Diane, you're a better person than me. Lacey knew about the affair and she was okay with it. Defendant gives Amber gifts and wants to continue the affair. Amber terminates contact. Police continue searching and exhausting multiple tips. Police tip line and America's Most Wanted. Defendant sets up his own tip line. A search of the Modesto foothills and surrounding areas. Lacey's sighting in a van. Defendant's initial theory, she was kidnapped by transients. And his second theory was she was kidnapped for Connor. $500,000 and 50,000 rewards remain unclaimed. Defendant's conduct suggests he knows that Lacey and Connor aren't coming home. Again, this is the problem, and I've seen it. I mean, this is not my own idea, but it does make perfect sense. So these people that are going to commit a crime, they, obsess about doing it, but often forget, that there's going to be a body now, that you're going to have a lot of evidence that is left there to try to, you're going to have a lot of cleaning to do. Most people think out the first bit, but not you have a body in your house. He closes down, defendant upgrades the cable and adds Skinamax, not Skinamax, because that was risque to me, but apparently it was hardcore adult programming. He closes down the warehouse. He tries to sell the house fully furnished. Sir, this section should be defendant is all the guilty. He sold her Land Rover. Defendant forwarded the mail. He no longer is wearing his wedding ring. Lacey's wedding photos can be found in a garbage can in a storage locker. So, all the guilties. Just all. I am so sorry. I don't really have. I will try to see if I can adjust that, but I don't have it on the high one. I have it on. I don't know how YouTube works. To be very honest with you, I put like low ads and don't. What an absolute diphthong. Connor's nursery becomes a storage room. Defendant is not interested in a lead to locate Lacey. Again, it should have just been titled All the Guilty. No, it's okay. I want you guys to have a good experience. I don't know why some people get some and then some people get three in a row. I have the only ones that I don't let on are, well, yeah, so people kind of fantasize about the first bit, but they forget that, you're going to have all of this evidence later. So that's what some people theorize, that you don't actually think. Probably. I YouTube needs to figure something out because they've never actually been fiscally viable. They actually cost Google money, and they've never run out of the red. They've never been in the black. And you'd think that YouTube would really plumb its resources, which are independent creators who are doing good jobs, instead of going with authoritative people. But this is another rant. Okay, so again, with all of the guilties, defendant changes his appearance and lies about his whereabouts and identity. Let's see, defendant purchases new car and lies about his identity, changes his appearance. Y'all, we all remember the bleach blonde hair that he needed purple hair or shampoo for, and the goatee, like he was going to hide out in Best Buy. Sir, I would not come to you as an IT goatee man. You're just too shady. The remains of Connor and Lacey wash ashore in the bay after a strong April storm. Uh, a major wind event and storm on Friday, April the 12th, 2020 or 2003. Baby Connor is found on Saturday, April 13th, 2003. Lacey's remains were recovered Sunday, April 2003. Lacey and Connor's remains were found approximately 1 mile away from where the defendant went fishing. And, I'm going to pause here for a second. Lacey was, it irritates me that Scott is getting all this attention, but, that's why I did a video before this about Lacey and Connor, because this is just so starkly, you realize that she was taken, she was probably terrified. She just wanted to have her baby. And, why people won't get divorces, I will never know. But all she wanted was, a family. Maybe she knew about Scott being not a great husband and she lived with that, but that that connection to her child, I just ugh. I hope they are all in heaven. I hope they are instructing cicadas to pee on Scott Peterson everywhere he goes, and possibly have that one irritating cricket that you can never find, but you're about to fall asleep and it goes choop 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 choop. Look, that would annoy the ever living snot out of me. So I would do that for him. Autopsies and examination of the bodies and evidence. And for this particular section, I'll probably go ahead and put it in a video with a warning thing, because I'm pretty sure that they will get, accurate, but it might not be everyone's cup of tea. And I can understand, you know, not wanting to read those things. So I will probably put that in its own separate video with a warning, because, it is a rough case. You know, we've lost a very excited mom to be and a baby. So I can understand. But they do an autopsy on Lacey and Connor. Uh, the autopsy is consistent with her still being pregnant while she was unalived, and it was consistent that the disarticulation, or the removing of certain body parts, happened in a marine environment, and her limbs were probably anchored. Um, So she was probably held down by her limbs, and then as things break down, her torso came ashore. Now, they weren't able to determine the cause of death. Forensic anthropology examination, Lacey had been in the water for at least 3 months.
No.
Connor, the condition of Connor's body, the physical evidence, from Connor's body. Connor passed away while he was still in utero, and he was only birthed, a short time after washing or before washing ashore. It is what is called a coffin birth. So the buildup of gases and everything, obviously, pressure and that kind of thing. So that is not atypical, but it is just horrifying. Connor's cause of death was a result of Lacey's death. Forensic anthropology confirms Connor's age. Physical evidence Lacey never left her home alive after December 23, 2002. Her curling iron, the hamper, and Lacey's wadded up maternity blouse, Lacey's scarf and purse. Now, I will say, Lacey looks like she was just put together. Like she, that effortless put together that all of us want to achieve and we just can't because, with hot mess, Shrek, time going to Walmart. But she just seems like she was effortlessly, put together. And her hand, so it makes, it really doesn't fit with the person she was to have these things wadded up and left out. She seems a bit type A to me, which is great. But again, these are things that probably women wouldn't leave out. When Lacey's body washed ashore, she was still wearing the motherhood maternity tan capri pants that she wore on December 23rd and her maternity bra, but no shirt. The house was also missing a pillowcase. Defendant arrested after another game with law enforcement. Defendant plays another game of cat and mouse with law enforcement. Defendant was arrested with $15,000 cash, other people's identification and credit cards, multiple burner phones, and outdoor survival equipment. Yeah, sir, go try to see if you survive in Tijuana. The police try to find the rest of Lacey's remains. Not new evidence, Lacey's sightings with various fans. So I guess these are all people that might have, said they saw her. This also comes to the point of the Medina burglars. So the house right across the street, I think, was robbed. I think a couple days before or after Lacey went missing. The Penal Code Section 1405, evidence, duct tape on Lacey's remain. Duct tape was recovered from her pants. Lacey's hair and defendant's prior DNA request. Target bag, duct tape, and packages of debris. Okay, Chandler Halderson, seriously, you couldn't have taken the trash anywhere else? Swear to goodness, I'm so glad you're bad at this because you need to be right where you are. One, found approximately 800 to 1,000 feet north of Lacey's remains. Common for duct tape to be attached to a target bag. Target bag, duct tape, and 3 separate pieces of duct tape were distinguished from the duct tape found on Lacey's body. Twine and package of debris. Black tarp number 1 was located on April 15th, 2003 by Jen Bonadino. The second black tarp was located May 11th, 2003, also by Jean Bonadino. Medina's work glove and hammer. Arson involved an unreported stolen van on December 2002. So this is really showing that regardless of what Scott Peterson said, they did look at these alternate theories. They didn't just, focus on him. They worked and did police work on all of these different theories. The stolen van that was on fire, the Medina's break-in. It's not something that they didn't consider. Let's see, an arson and a stolen van investigation, mattress clippings, and the defendant's second prior request to DNA testing. The relevant procedural history. While the court may take judicial notice of the previously filed petitions for relief by defendant, the statements from within these petitions are inadmissible hearsay. Request for judicial notice, law and arguments. There is no substantive constitutional right to post-conviction DNA testing. Defendant's new evidence claims were or could have previously been litigated. So the law of the case, defense claim regarding reports of Lacey walking, the Medina burglary, and Puente tip, date of Lacey's death, van on fire December 25th, 2002. Lacey was not in defendant Scott Peterson's boat. Lacey and Connor were not placed in the bay by defendant Peterson. Collateral estoppel. So we are getting into all of the legal, lawful law stuff, but we will start with, I love all the snark. And, the way to get them to my heart is a really cool, table of contents that has everything labeled out. Y'all know how I love my tables of contents and footnotes. But holy for Jolie, they were not holding back as far as cases that basically say, you're screwed, Scott, but Okay, introduction. In 2004, a jury convicted defendant Scott Lee Peterson of the murders of Lacey and her unborn son Connor. Following his appeal and petition for a writ of habeas corpus, the California Supreme Court affirmed the defendant's conviction. But the remainder of the matter remained the matter to the court trial for a retrial of the penalty phase and resolution of Claim 1 in the writ of habeas corpus. In 2021, defendant Scott Peterson was resentenced to life without the possibility of parole, and following an evidentiary hearing on Claim 1 in the petition of the writ of habeas corpus, the trial denied Peterson, or the petition in 2002. So we've got OG trial. Damn it.
Hey, Mom.
In 2004, he got writ in, I think, 2002. I mean, he has nothing better to do than try to find ways to slink his way out of this. But the wild feral ones are out of school. This is going to be great. Quote, for purposes of collateral attack, all the presumptions favor the truth, accuracy, and fairness of conviction and sentence. Defendant thus must undertake the burden of overturning them. Society's interest in finality of criminal proceedings so demand, and due process is not thereby offended. So basically, they're saying, sir, you can whine a whole lot, but we're not going to put the taxpayers through a bunch of BS. So this is basically the state saying, look, we litigated this. We have all of the evidence. Don't make us bring all of the evidence out. Quietly go away and, serve your sentence. Defendant has filed a second successive petition of writ of habeas corpus in the First District Court of Appeal. Informal briefing in the matter was suspended 6 months pending defendant Peterson's adjudication of the instant motion for DNA testing, as well as another motion requesting post-conviction discovery in the trial court. I have not named it. I'm actually, so to be fair, Mo doesn't actually measure things. So I thought it was going to be much bigger, and I didn't even think about how I was going to present it. So we are winging it today, trying to get this. There we go. As for most things, we're winging it. So he did go for another writ of habeas corpus, which I think goes federal, but I don't know. I'm not a doctor or a lawyerologist.
There's
Out.
only one.
Let's see here. As noted by the California Supreme Court, because this case was the subject of such widespread media attention, it is unclear what purpose a second change of venue would have served. J&E Exhibit Opinion, page 39. The attention encompassed the initial investigation and the resulting trial, even post-trial matters. During the investigation into Lacey's disappearance, over 10,000 tips were called into law enforcement. So, just
Yeah.
so according to now, maybe they didn't work for Delphi, so they actually followed up on tips. Who knows? Or maybe they didn't work for, Boston, Canton, so maybe they actually looked at stuff. I'm just saying. Let's see. During the investigation into Lacey's disappearance, over 10,000 tips were called into law enforcement and volunteers insisting in the search. Sightings of Lacey Peterson were reported around the world, but none proved correct. Let's see here. Footnote number 1, these pleadings and any future pleadings going forward will refer to the victims as Lacey and Connor. We follow the practice used by the California Supreme Court. There is no disrespect meant in the use of only their first names. 2, in addition to the volunteer search center established by the family of Lacey and Connor, defendant Peterson established his quote-unquote own tip line, but most of those tips were not shared with law enforcement or the family of Lacey and Connor. The people are unable to say how many tips were received on the defendant's quote-unquote tip line. Yeah, what a douche canoe. It's like, oh, my wife and son are gone. I'm most affected. Feel sorry about me. Just, ugh. Sir, I'm recommending for your safety and to not piss off the entire female and male community. Uh, you know, we think you're douche. The men think that you dishonored your wife, and the women think that you should have ended up in the bay, allegedly. So sightings of Lacey were reported across the world, but none proved correct, as she and her son were found almost 4 months later, where defendant Peterson reported he'd been fishing in a recently purchased boat, the existence of which he had hidden from everyone. Defendant Peterson's lies in this case were extensive, presented to the jury through statements and captured recordings, previously reviewed by multiple courts, and clearly preclude any support for additional DNA testing. Defendant Peterson told some witnesses that he was golfing when Lacey went missing. Then he told law enforcement he went fishing but couldn't recall what kind of fish he was trying to catch. Weeks prior to Lacey's disappearance, the defendant told Amber Fry and her friend, that he had lost his wife. Immediately after, he told them that defendant Peterson bought a boat and searched the conditions of the San Francisco Bay online. Oh, so immediately after he said that, he bought a boat and he started researching, because the internet is forever, sir. You should have tried a book. They're in the library. They have this little Dewey Decimal System. You can do it. It's free unless you keep the books too long. Then there's like a $5 fine. I'm just saying, sir. Try not to be obvious. During a candlelight vigil for his missing wife on December 31st, defendant Peterson smiled and joked with others at the vigil. He also called Miss Fry and told her he was watching fireworks at the Eiffel Tower in Paris. When subsequently confronted by Miss Fry by saying he lost his wife before she went missing, defendant Peterson would not explain how he could have known he lost his wife before she went missing. Tell him you're Chad Daybell. You see all the dark souls. You know exactly what's going on. I mean, it's not working for him, but I mean, you can try. Let's see. Peterson also lied about making boat anchors, of which several are still missing. So 5, in the defendant's warehouse during the first search, a flat trailer was found with gray powder residue, believed to be and tested to confirm it was cement, in circular patterns with voided areas on the trailer, and was consistent with making multiple anchors. There were 5 areas of void. Peterson admitted to Detective Grogan during an interview that he made an anchor at the shop. He said he bought a bag of cement. He gestured the size to Grogan. Grogan accepted the gesture as meaning a 60-pound bag and not either a 90 or 80-pound bag. The defendant told the detective that he threw the leftover bag of cement away at his house. However, on January 16, 2003, at 13:46 hours, so 1 o'clock or 1:45, a recorded phone conversation between Brent Rocha and Scott Peterson was captured where Peterson stated, quote, "Yeah, I made a boat anchor with some cement and I put some on the driveway here at the house." The concrete anchor found in the boat was examined by Robert C. O'Neill, an expert geologist and petrographer. No idea. Look, I have never heard of it. I've heard of geologist, but let's look up what petrographer means because I have no idea. I mean, this sounds like something you get. Uh, okay, it's the study of rocks in thin sections by means of a petrographic microscope. That sounds incredibly fun and boring at the same time. O'Neill testified that the anchor was cast in a mold and weighed 8.6 pounds. The concrete was mixed in the same container that the anchors were made. The defendant's current motion for DNA testing overlooks the fact that there was DNA testing previously done in 2013 following the defendant's first Penal Code Section 1405 motion. After the test that did not develop anything new to support his first habeas corpus petition, there was yet a second DNA testing in 2019 that was equally fruitless. Furthermore, the defendant's claims in support of a third DNA test post-conviction have all been presented to one court, if not multiple courts. In light of the overwhelming evidence that supports the defendant's conviction, his failure to establish a chain of custody for several of these items, let alone actual evidence that the items even exist, and the prior fruitless DNA testing has already been done, and the people asked this court to deny the defendant's motion forthwith. Ooh, they're like, we have all the evidence. We got 30 pages or 330 pages. It's almost like an entire Bridgerton book, you know. Okay, so background statements of fact, Lacey and the defendant. Lacey Denise Rocha was born on May 4th, 1975. She was one of two children born to Sharon and Dennis Rocha during their marriage. Lacey had a brother named Brent who was 4 years older than she. In 1976, Sharon and Dennis divorced when Lacey was 1 year old. Subsequently, Sharon met Ron Bransky and began dating him when Lacey was 2 years old. Sharon and Ron remained a couple together and raised Lacey in Modesto, California. Dennis Rocha had a second daughter named Amy. Amy is Lacey's half-sister, and although Amy was 6 years older than Lacey, they talked often and became very close after Lacey moved back from college. Let's see. Okay, so this is talking about the concrete. O'Neill described the process as someone adding powder from a sack material to the container, then adding water. O'Neill compared the concrete mix of the anchor with the concrete found by the driveway, as mentioned in the Rocha call at the Peterson house. He opined that the samples were not consistent, the anchor having been made from commercially available pre-mix bag like you find at Home Depot. All that's been accounted for out of the 60-pound bag of cement is one 8.6-pound anchor, 5 voids where something had been made, and a lot of gray dust. Logic suggests those voids are additional anchors that were made and used to weigh Lacey down. I mean, I'm not, Nancy Drew or Nancy Grace, but I mean, it makes sense to me. It logics. In the fall of 1993, Lacey started college at California Polytechnic State University. Okay, if you walk away and cry, Wilfred, if you walk away, you're not going to see me. He's pathetic. He has a little cry when he walks away completely independently, and he's like, I'm alone. So she frequently referred to as Cal Poly in St. Luis Obispo. Lacey was described as a person who would light up the room, vivacious intelligence, and the life of the party. I can only imagine what's going to be said after my death. She had a lot of kids and she kind of used sarcasm to deal. Yeah, I think he can identify the different mixes and what's in them because I'm sure they're different proprietary mixes or whatever you have you. But yeah, so we've got 5 anchors were possibly made. We only found 1 anchor that was 8.6 pounds, but we still have 60 pounds, that are missing. Yes, Dinkus, if you come sit by me, you're not alone. Let's see here. But I can just imagine, she didn't like peopling much. She really wanted to give the finger to a bunch of people, so she has a list. And if you would like to stand up, we will erect both middle fingers in your general direction. Let's see here. While attending classes, Lacey met the defendant who lived in St. Louis Obispo and was working at a local restaurant. The first time Lacey introduced the defendant to her mom at the restaurant where she worked, the defendant greeted Lacey with a dozen roses, and he presented Sharon with a dozen white roses. Okay, no, look, I love Mr. Mo, but he knows that I hate flowers because it's basically just gonna die anyways. Like, bring me a Lego set. We'd be awesome. And then giving my mom flowers too, like, I don't know what it is about Scott Peterson or people like them, but they inherently repel me. And it's not anything I can put a label on, but he's just too schmoozy for me. He's, as said in 16 Candles, he is a greasy bohunk. Let's see here. Defendant and Lacey continued to date, and the relationship grew stronger through her college years. So he was still cheating on the side. I hope he didn't give her gun her syphilis, because this man is not, practicing any safety whatsoever. While she was dating the defendant, Lacey got Mackenzie, a golden lab retriever puppy. Mackenzie was a hyper playful dog, but was protective of Lacey and would take an aggressive stance if a stranger approached her. Mackenzie would also get excited and bark if people came over. In August of 1997, surrounded by family and close friends, Lacey and the defendant married at Avila Beach. Lacey graduated in December 2007 with a degree in ornamental horticulture, which I didn't think, I did not know. For the love of all the Cheetos, give me 1 second. My husband has decided to wind blow. Alrighty. Sometimes I feel like I am living in, chaos, but that's just having a big family. But, when I tell people like, hey, I'm going to do a stream, and my husband's like, okay, I'm going to go, use the blower like a freaking Canton detective, on speed. And I'm like, for the love of all that is holy. In the beginning of 2019, or 1000, oh my gosh, 1998. It's a Monday, y'all. Lacey and the defendant lived apart after they got married while the defendant finished his degree in agricultural business and, side chicks at Cal Poly while Lacey worked for a company out of Richmond. The defendant's parents, Jackie and Lee Peterson, gave the defendant a crate packaging business, which the defendant ran when he finished his degree. Now, Jackie and Lee Peterson are exactly like the parents of, oh gosh, what's his name? The guy that unalived his wife because she was pregnant with a third baby, and his name escapes me, Chris something or other. but they, believe in him 100%. It wasn't him. And I think I could understand the cognitive dissonance if, you don't want, uh, Chris Watts. It actually, yes, I think that works. Sir, we've talked about you using your murder mittens on my legs. So, as I was saying, Jackie and Lee Peterson definitely believe everything that, you know, Scott says. They have even, pushed wild conspiracy theories and things like that. Again, it would be hard for me to look at all the evidence of what a child of mine did and how gross and disgusting and in your face that he did all of the things. I don't know if I could square that. So I try to give them a lot of grace. They at least don't aren't like Chris Watts' parents who blame the mom, because that's a bunch of BS and we all know it. All right, once the defendant graduated, Lacey moved back to San Luis Obispo. The defendant sold the packaging business that his parents gave them, because of course he did, and used the proceeds to open a restaurant called The Shack with Lacey. The business was a beer and burger place for college students. The couple operated the restaurant for about a year and a half before they sold it and moved to Modesto. I will say, keeping a restaurant open for a year is um, is pretty good, because restaurants are very notoriously, cost front loaded, cost heavy, and they're also very susceptible to different changes in the market. Meat gets more expensive. You have to pay your employees $120 an hour because it's Florida, you know, or not Florida, it's California. So I am surprised that they actually made it successful. I do think it's more. I'm full team Lacey. Uh, Scott, don't be peanut butter and jealous, okay? Because I'm team Lacey forever. Now, the defendant told Brent, Lacey's brother, that he did not want to flip burgers for the rest of his life, so they sold the business. A new home, comfortable lifestyle, and their finances. In June 2000, Lacey and the defendant initially lived with Lacey's mother and stepfather, Sharon and Ron, for a couple weeks before they moved into a rental home. The defendant's parents, Lee and Jackie Peterson, gave the defendant $30,000 for a down payment. Um, Lee and Jackie Peterson, I'm a good kid. I curse seldom, well, all the time, Lee, but I haven't unalived anyone. If you would like to donate to my for-profit charity for my house, hey, murder mittens, we've talked about this. So you guys know I wear the big skirts that are a little loose because they're easy on my leg. Well, this one has decided that climbing up my skirt with his murder mittens and possibly causing a plumber issue in back is the greatest idea ever. So basically, parents of Scott bought the house. You know, I get that if you have money, you want to help set up your children, but Scott just seems like an absolute diphthong. I would not even give him money. Yes, Celestial Force, that murder mittens, we've talked about this. He's like, oh, your foot is moving. I will do that. So he is a Maine Coon. The breed is supposed to be very friendly, very social, and kind of dog-like, which I like. And he really is social. The hard thing is that the cats that we have are slowly getting used to them, but they're terrified of him, and he's terrified of them. So I'm keeping him in my room, but I'm opening the door sometimes because I have to go do laundry and like mom stuff. Now, he will step to the very edge of the carpet in the room and then start screaming bloody murder. Hey, murder mittens, we talked about this here. Now, I will say this is probably the best purchase I've made. It is a little cat doll, and it somewhere where my children put it had a little button, and it would purr and kind of do a heartbeat noise. I think it really helped him on the ride, or I'm just going overboard. Which, two things can be true at the same time. I know. Well, that's what I'm hoping he'll be my attack kitten. Yeah, he's really good, but he hasn't learned not to attack my feet. So we're trying to do that. And he was actually pretty good yesterday when my legs were really hurting. So he's 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 a toddler. What are you gonna do? Not my feet, dingus. Get one of your So if you are into true crime, they have all of these stuffed catnip toys. And for some reason, I don't know why it struck me as funny, but I was going to Delphi to get a cat that, already had, true crime toys. Let's see here. I there's so I think that if I'm not a psychological person or anything, but Lee and Jackie Peterson seem to have kept Scott in this kind of kidult stage. So he was dependent on them, but he wasn't fully providing for his family. And I do feel like that is the starting crack in my view of him. If you do get married, if you are a husband, in my mind, both people are working to, secure their house, to get the things that they need. And Scott seems to really just rely on his parents and not do the hard work and the growth that you do need to do to provide for your own family. But that's just my opinion of it. I mean, again, if my parents offered me 30K just to buy a house or whatever, I mean, there would be signs like I was going to Japan and I am buying all the Sailor Moon stuff. Okay, let's see. So they purchased a home located at 523 Covina Avenue. So that is in 2000. And I totally get wanting to give your kids nice things and have them work, but it just does seem like it's stunting his growth into a provider on his own 2 feet. Let's see. People's Trial Exhibit number 1E, depicted below, shows Lacey in the defendant's house in Modesto, along with Lacey's Land Rover and the defendant's Ford pickup truck. And I'm guessing that this was way. What? There are? I cannot. I I am there. I am down. But and I'm not from California, but I know that even a house like that is a gajillion dollars because it's California. So I mean, it's nice that she's got a nice car, and so does he. 6. Although Sharon and Ron were never officially married, Ron is considered to be Lacey's stepfather. Absolutely. If he stood in there and helped raise her, then I don't care what his marriage thing is. 7. As described in People's original change of venue motion, quote, California is the most populous of our 50 states, and San Luis County is now ranked the 16th largest out of 58 California counties. The city of Modesto, where the crime occurred, is ranked as the 15th largest in the state, according to data collected by the United States 2000 Census and available from the State of California Department of Finance website. San Luis County has a population of 480,600 people. So I guess there was some shenanigans from the defense, not shenanigans, but basically this is a giant media case. This is probably, it's the same level as the Delphi case. You could move the Delphi case to, the smallest town or my town. There's still going to be people who know about it because we have become, addicted to 24-hour news streams. Murder mittens, no. Hey, no, sir. Gonna get you a cat wheel. I really am. You need a cat wheel. Yes. Well, you were trying to climb up my pants, sir. Here, do you want to be on the? That's a good idea. Okay, dingus. Down you go. Stop touching my feet, okay? The woman that we got him from had a whole bag of toys for him and the food that he's eating, and he eats 3 times a day. But he is a hobbit, and he would like first breakfast, second breakfast, and you know, 11 Z's. But I have learned that they won't grow. He won't grow to his biggest size until about 2 to 3 years. So, oh, for the love of Cheetos, stop! You and Fry and my one set of Birkenstocks, you dingus. So they're basically saying that he could go to any town, any municipality, and he would still have the problem of people knowing this case. In November of 2000, Lacey began working daily as a part-time substitute teacher. The defendant started working as a manager of a newly incorporated domestic sales fertilizer products company called Trade Corp USA. The defendant operated the business out of a leased warehouse in Modesto, located at 1027 North Emerald Avenue. In the beginning of July 2002, the defendant hired his first Trade Corp employee, Eric Olson, as a territory sales rep for Southern California, Arizona, and Nevada. The defendant traveled frequently for work. The defendant and Lacey lived a comfortable lifestyle. In December of 2002, the parents bought him a $20,000 membership at the Del Rio Country Club. What do grandma and grandpa moneybags do? Wait, there is a Sailor Moon themed cat tree on Amazon. Don't make me have to do a wheel of regret. So that the defendant could golf and work out. You know, that book had to have a ghostwriter and a bunch of editors. And why the ever living flying F word would you leave that in? You are going to piss off every single human being. I mean, I get the point that with rural working dogs, if they, unalive a bunch of chickens, they're not trainable. I get it. But I wouldn't put it in an effing book, you giant diphthong. Let's see. Regarding the defendant's personal finances, Lacey and the defendant's expenses were high in relation to the defendant's cash flow. So they were beer drinking people, but they had caviar and champagne dreams. Nearly 70% of the defendant's take-home pay was consumed by fixed expenses, credit card debts versus the defendant versus holy fazoli. Their 58.7% of their income went to credit card debt and things like that. Although the Peterson's mortgage debt was being paid down, there were medical bills that were past due, including for health insurance. What an absolute jackass. You can get Cobra, but I mean, he probably was just like, I'll ask mom and dad, which is dumb. Since the incorporation in 2000, Trade Corp had not turned a profit. The company had a net operating loss of $136,000. During the first year of incorporation, the company posted a loss of $40,000. The loss increased to $200,000 in the second year. Trade Corp was not meeting sales goals set by the parent organization and owed the parent company $190,000. The defendant, who was responsible for Trade Corp's finances, made minimum payments and carried balances forward onto company credit card accounts. What an absolute, sir, do you math? Did you take an economy class anywhere? Your parents obviously have money. How did they do that? Maybe ask them questions like, you seem successful. What did you do? Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. So Trade Corp USA was formed in October 2000. The parent company is based in Spain and called Trade Corp España. Trade Corp International owned Trade Corp España. The defendant would store liquid fertilizer, which came in 5-gallon containers on pallets in the warehouse. He got into Cutco knives of fertilizer. He tried to do an MLM with fertilizer. I have never heard this shenanigans, but this is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. Let's see. As part of a subsequent police investigation, Gary Nehus, the internal auditor for the city of Modesto, evaluated and testified at trial to the defendant's personal and business finances during 2001 versus 2002. Nehus's analysis did not consider any potential secondary sources of income, such as Lacey's future inheritance or pawning of personal items. In addition to Gary Nehus's evaluation, Trade Corp hired Jeffrey Coleman, a certified public accountant, who also determined that Trade Corp never turned a profit. Dear Lord, this man is money dumb. Now, to be fair, before I met Mr. Mo, I was money dumb too. I was not very smart, but now I have a budget and I stick with it and I pretend to pay attention in financial meetings. Look, we all have to carry. Mr. Mo loves his Excel sheets, and I am just done with Excel sheets. In 2 applications, both of which were signed by the defendant, he indicated the company had a net profit of $150,000 and $500,000, respectively, both contrary to the company's financial records. Furthermore, the company failed to pay its payroll taxes in 2002 to the Internal Revenue Service, and the mill taxes owed to the city of Modesto. However, records show that the defendant used company money to pay a fine on a speeding ticket. What an absolute jackass. Let me see if it is picking up, because it should be. Oh, for the love of all that is holy. Oh, you suck so bad. No, it wasn't going to it was going to sorry. I fixed it. I don't know why StreamYard is being an ass. I didn't even think to look at it because, it's yeah, StreamYard, stop being an ass. Oh, well, to be very fair to chat, when I'm reading, it's hard to keep up with chat. So, thank you, Shenanigan. I will look at that because, oh my goodness, I spent more money on this microphone to be able to do maybe more talking things like this. If I could get my dream job, I would be doing things like the casual criminalist. I would read scripts and stuff because I love to know more about things, but I don't have the time to always research it. I do need to sleep once or twice. Lacey and Connor, thrilled she's going to be a new mom. Due to a prior medical issue, Lacey was unsure she could even get pregnant. After several attempts to conceive a child, Lacey was thrilled when she became pregnant in the 4th year of their marriage. She was very happy about being pregnant and excited to become a mom. When Rose, Brent Rocha's wife, asked the defendant if he was ready to have a child, the defendant replied, quote, I was kind of hoping for infertility. All right, nope, we're done. We're done. Look, giant, absolute jackass. I was kind of hoping for infertility. You should not breed. Let's be very fair. Lacey did all the building of this child. You were just a donor with a douche face, and you are super de duper guilty. Just saying that, I'm like, you know what? Impartiality be damned. I don't like you ever again. Let's see. Rose did not know if the defendant was joking, but noticed that he was not smiling or laughing when he made the comment. According to Brent, Lacey's brother, the defendant appeared excited about having a child and went to most of Lacey's prenatal appointments. However, in Brent's view, Lacey was the one who wanted a family, and the defendant acquiesced to Lacey's wishes. Sometime during the summer of 2002, Brent and his wife Rose were in a pool at Lacey and the defendant's house when Brent and the defendant were talking about life. The defendant seemed, quote, down and kind of quiet at the time. Let's see here. The defendant mentioned that fatherhood approaching and he was turning 30 years old. Sir, you don't have enough depth to have a midlife crisis. You are as shallow as, Amber Heard's acting abilities. Spare me your deep and dumb thoughts about dumbness. Eric Olson sent an email to resign from Trade Corp to the defendant on December 26, 2002, after the defendant made several promises to him that never happened, such as training, health insurance, and benefits. Olson was also frustrated because around Thanksgiving and the beginning of December, the defendant was not ordering materials like he was supposed to, and their product was not coming in. On December 20th, 2002, Jerry Coleman called and left a message for the defendant advising him that his payroll taxes were overdue. Look, the government will get his money, okay? The government will get its money. During the same conversation, he confided in Brent that his job was not going well. The defendant explained that he was interviewing new sales associates for his business and was hoping to find someone who had better sales skills than he did. Yeah, I don't know how you caught so many women coming after you. You read oily bohunk to me from the beginning to the end. I just, no. Everything about you makes me want to turn and walk away. It's like his aura has this grease on it, and I don't really believe in auras, but he just exudes. He has resting douche face. I can't. Look, I've coined it, resting douche face. During Lacey's pregnancy, she had her 2 routine ultrasounds at 10 and 20 weeks, which predicted her due date to be February 10th, 2003. She had a healthy pregnancy and was considered low risk. On August 20th, 2002, Lacey saw OBGYN Dr. Tina Andraki for a routine appointment. The defendant was supposed to attend the appointment. Lacey was 15 weeks and 1 day pregnant. Y'all, we do that. When you are pregnant, it is like counting down. You're like, it is like prisoners, like 3 weeks and a wake up and I'm done. Look, when you get toward the end of pregnancy, you're like, I don't care. I will give you a car when you're 16. Just get out of my body. I love you, but I cannot sleep. I am so uncomfortable. And I would just like to be done with this pregnancy. Thank you. Fun fact, my oldest daughter was a week and a day late, so we did not give her a car. I'm just kidding. My parents were getting a new car, so she and middle daughter got the car to share. But I was willing to give her like a Corsair, a Camaro, a Ford Tempest, if you will, but she was not budging. Let's see. She was very cheerful and desired the pregnancy, but some concerns because she was feeling pressure in her lower abdomen near her pelvic region. The doctor conducted another ultrasound and found out that everything was okay. Your first baby, you will, every little twinge, every little thing. And because she was so, wanting this baby and they had losses, I can imagine she was there for every little feeling that she had, which is totally normal. Being pregnant is a weird thing, especially your first time. Your body gets hijacked. you love this little person, but if they keep punching your bladder, you're going to explode. And whatever asshole invented maternity overalls needs to be hunted down and put in an ISO cube with exploding glitter everywhere, because the amount of times you have to use the restroom and the amount of times that those little, tail things would end up in the potty. No, it's just no. Whoever invented maternity overalls, I need you to come to the front of the class and explain yourself, because you're probably a dude. Yes, I am bitter, believe me. They look so cute. You look so cute. You're like a pregnant farmer, but no, just no. It always ends up in the potty, at least if you're me, because I am chaotic neutral or good sometimes. Having a boy named Connor in time for new clothes. Lacey and the defendant learned that they were having a baby boy and began planning on names, whereby they decided to name him Connor. As Connor grew inside Lacey, she bought new clothes. Lacey purchased 6 items at Motherhood Maternity, a store located in Modesto. Now, I'm going to give you guys some tips, because I've been all the pregnant for, I actually mathed it out, 5 years. Go to eBay. If you ever, become pregnant and you don't want to spend a bunch of money on maternity clothes, go to eBay. Women will be giving them away in bundles, and it is much cheaper than going to Motherhood Maternity, which they are really good. I'm not gonna lie, they have a pretty good, fluffy chicks pregnancy scent thing, but you can always find it on eBay. I don't remember if eBay was the thing in 2002, but that is my recommendation. As depicted below, People's Trial Exhibit Numbers 39, a cropped, ruffled nylon rayon stone pant; 42, a black and tan blouse with 3/4 bell sleeve; 44, an embellished silk satchung red cropped pants with embroidered dark red sleeve, short shell, a V-neck ruffled Georgette pink and tan blouse. So, I mean, she picked out really cute things. I would not get the red one. Um, I agree with most of these, but no, the red, no. But she looked really, really cute in the red. She could totally wear it. I just would look like, no, I don't do red very well. A month later, she also purchased a new maternity bra. See, these are the kind of things that I would be, this sounds really weird, but I would be okay being unalive when people are like, and she brought a maternity dress and a bunch of smuxy books and, a bunch of, cheesecakes. Look, my first pregnancy, and don't do this, it does not go all to your belly. Do not go crazy with food, because you will get unpregnant and be like, wait a minute, this is all supposed to go away. And it does not. So try to be healthy-ish. Dizzy spells and doctor's recommendation to quit walking. As her pregnancy progressed, Lacey became increasingly more uncomfortable and was not feeling well. At the end of October, Lacey told her mother Sharon and sister Amy that she had a dizzy spell, and Lacey said she was afraid that she was going to pass out while she was walking the dog, Mackenzie, in the park. Lacey was really embarrassed because she started to vomit, and maintenance people at the park had to clean up after her. I would be so terribly embarrassed. I would probably never go to that park again. I hate being, first inconveniencing people, but also having like throw up in public. Not my jam. On November 6th, Lacey had another dizziness episode while walking the dog in the park and had to sit down right away so she did not get sick. This time, Lacey called her doctor when she got home. She spoke to Dr. Indraki and complained about the symptoms of dizziness and lightheadedness when she walked. At the time, Lacey explained she'd been walking for 20 minutes and experiencing these symptoms on 2 separate occasions, once that current day and a week prior. Dr. Indraki instructed her to stop exercising, and if she felt like she had to exercise, then do it in the afternoon when she would be more hydrated and had eaten. 2 days later, on November 8th, 2002, Lacey again called the doctor's office with the same complaint and spoke to nurse practitioner Cheryl Smith. Lacey complained of shortness of breath while walking, but denied passing out. Smith noted Lacey's symptoms in her chart and discussed self-care measures with her. Lacey followed up with a doctor's appointment scheduled for November 25th. So again, the state is slowly building this. Your wife didn't get kidnapped walking the dog because she'd actually been told by the doctor to stop doing that. And I'm sure you were absolutely no effing help and didn't even walk the dog for your pregnant wife because you're a douche canoe. And lower than corrotated trash water. But it just boggles me. Again, if you knew from the beginning that you didn't want kids, that you didn't, none of this is yours, tell your partner. There are plenty of people that don't want to have children that do just fine being married, or they can't have children. But you signed up and you saw the ride and bought a ticket. You knew that Lacey was family oriented. You knew she wanted a family. I don't know why you married Lacey if you wanted to have, 84 people on the side, but you knew what she was about when you married her. How dare you say that you're praying for infertility? But also, again, this was not news. She didn't spring this up like, hey, I want kids and I know you don't. I have a feeling that she constantly talked about, when we have a family, when I create this home, because some women like that. Some women love to work, and there's nothing wrong with that. But some women enjoy just making a home, being the CEO of the house, making sure all the chaos is somewhat coordinated. And again, Scott knew about this. This is not something she popped up like on at the time. Let me put it on. This is not a Sally, Jesse, Raphael thing where she suddenly appears and says, I want a family. I want all of these. Yeah, he probably just went along to get along, and he knew that his parents would be, if he is conniving enough, he knew his parents would be more generous to a family man with a wife that's pregnant. He would get access to more money. That's kind of where I think he falls on that. He seems to use people for people serve a purpose for him, but they aren't, they're tools, they're pawns. He gets them. Being with Lacey and almost having a baby gives him, in his community, gives him, standing, makes him the family man, that kind of thing. But that's a facade. He uses that to get with other people so he uses people like chess pawns. Lacey is there to give him that respectability, the veneer very thin because he's as deep as as Amber Heard's acting. But everyone serves a purpose. Amber Fry is, the fun kind of person that he can have when he is traveling, but she's not a part of his real life. He never has to make a commitment to her, per se. And Lacey is there to, make his parents sympathetic, to give that veneer of being a normal human. But I think he probably, and I'm not a doctorologist, but I think he would probably score high on the psychopathy scale, just because of all the things that he does where he thinks there's not going to be consequences. He does things and he doesn't think about the consequences because he doesn't care. If Lacey leaves him, then the only thing he would probably care about is the fact that he would have to pay alimony and, pay for a child, and it would come out in his finances that he wasn't making money, that his business venture, the multi-level marketing of fertilizer, everything about him is a lie. If she left him, my guess is that she probably gave him an ultimatum too. She probably suspected some things. Oh, thank you, Fraud at Wrangler. He gifted 5 memberships, and that went to Great Success, Tammy Fayette, Velu 87, Elaine Riley, and Watchdog. Thank you so much. And as I say, I am not a doctorologist. I just watch all of the true crime, and this is what I'm guessing. So take it with all the grains of salt. Let's see here. Lacey was complaining that her back ached and she seemed to be tired all the time. She described herself as being tired and heavy. Lacey resigned her job as a substitute teacher in November 2002 due to these symptoms and wanting to focus on her desire to prepare for the baby. She set up the nursery and decorated it with a nautical theme, sea theme. This is the heartbreaking stuff. This is the absolute gut-wrenching just sadness. It's an empty shell. There should be a child there. There should be a happy wife, but it's all for show. It never was going to get used. And Scott Peterson knew that. And the fact, look, I am just making him guilty in my mind because he's such a douche canoe. But everything about Scott Peterson is a thin veneer. So you got the trappings, but you know you're never going to have a child. You've told other people you never had a child. You know, you're not going to have a child, you're not going to have a wife. You're going to use that for sympathy and do this pattern over and over. He doesn't understand sacrifice. As a real man in a family, you know, if your company isn't working out, you talk to your wife. You don't hide it. You know, you don't continue to spend. There are things that they could have done together, but he wasn't there to work on a marriage. He was there to have a veneer marriage to make him look slightly respectable. And then he could, you know, go out and have his fun and still have that respectable, you know, persona, at least in my opinion. She was so excited. The sonogram was on the top of the white dresser. Also, here's my thing with Scott. Look, you went into those appointments. There is nothing better, nothing more reassuring, nothing more just your life is changing than hearing that child's independent heartbeat for the first time. If that doesn't change your heart, if that doesn't, you know, motivate you to be a better person, nothing will. I hope Jesus likes you because everyone else thinks you're a butt monkey. I may be a little prejudiced anymore. This man is annoying. He's like that piece of sand when you go to the beach and, you know, it's stuck there and you've used baby powder and it just is in there and it just chafes like a son of a bitch, if you know what I mean. Lacey and her friend Kim McNeely's birthday party was at Chili's November 14th, 2002. She told her longtime childhood friends, Stacy Boyers and Lori Ellsworth, that she was going to quit walking because she had gotten sick while walking, and both her doctor and mother told her to stop. Oh, I will try. So I didn't want to bring this up here. There will not be a Mornings with Mo. I am going to this new holistic. Look, I am not in the good headspace with this, but I have been sent to a different pain clinic, one that does neuroscience, physical therapy, and behavioral stuff. So it's 3 one-hour appointments tomorrow, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to have me do a lot of physical therapy, or at least test as they need to see where my range of motion is and my sensitivity. So I understand that, but I also know that that is not going to be great for me, and I'm kind of not in the right headspace. I feel like I've just been shuffled along everywhere because I don't want to take, you know, opioids. They don't quite know what to do with me, and it's my third new doctor in, you know, under 2 years, and I've already, you know, filled out 570 forms for this new appointment place, and they're gonna come in and not read it and ask me what the hell I'm doing there, and I'm going to lose my ever-loving mind. I'm telling y'all, I'm about ready to go full Joe Rogan and just do things like that. But yes, I will not have mornings with Mo. It's just, ugh, I don't want to go to another appointment. I don't want to do another thing. And I'm trying to get my attitude where it will be good. Uh, but my attitude is kind of like it's one of those, old 80s conversion camps. Like we're going to pray away the pain. I just, y'all, I am not in the best headspace about it. Let's see. On November 25th, Lacey went to her follow-up appointment with OBGYN Dr. Esther Tauder, and she complained of swelling in both her hands and ankles. Now, I will tell you guys, swelling is normal as pregnancy, but if you start getting headaches, if you start to get really nauseous, if the swelling is, relatively sharp and sudden, you start getting dizzy, your eyes maybe start blanking out. That is really serious. You need to go to the doctor. You could have preeclampsia. I am not a doctor. I'm just saying if you notice these things, call your doctor because that is not a good sign. I did have preeclampsia with one of my kids, and it was really quite scary. But I was young and dumb, and I didn't know how scary it was. I didn't know how dangerous it was. So, it was okay, but I'm glad I didn't know that you could Google medical stuff. Look, I have hated computers all my life. So the fact that I didn't know how dangerous was, the youth and ignorance is good sometimes. Lacey reported that she had completed her Lamaze class and Connor continued to be actively moving. At the time, Dr. Toe Dur could not determine whether the baby was, face down, getting ready for delivery. A lot of times they'll palpate or touch your belly and try to figure out what those lumps are. They're doctorologists, so they know like phrenology for the belly. I don't know, but they figure it out. Now, this is it's just heartbreaking that, she was writing her story, she was getting her dream, and all this time her husband wasn't there. And, when you get married, you're supposed to stick with a person. You're supposed to be their support system. And I know how alone she felt. I've had, partners that haven't been really supportive. And it's hard for me to ask for help. But this is just so incredibly sad. And I hope that one day her parents allegedly get 10 minutes with Scott Peterson in Minecraft, of course. The defendant predicted Lacey's disappearance. Like Chad Daybell, he apparently saw through the veil and could see people's auras or whatever. What an absolute. Sir, we don't announce our crime. We don't pretend that we have, personal profiteer from God kind of things. We don't do that. She may have, look, when you're with a not supportive partner or you don't want to see the red flags, you don't. She probably thought, okay, everything's going to be okay. Once he sees this baby, it'll be fine. It's easy to lie to yourself and to say, oh, well, he's going on business meetings. Of course, he smells like other women's perfume. But, fertilizing is a really tough business. Who knows if the woman was trying to help him pick up the fertilizer? You can ignore a lot of red flags when you want to. And she was probably so consumed with Connor coming in that she didn't really notice Scott pulling away, Scott, doing things that weren't maybe kosher. Because if you don't want to see it, you don't. Unfortunately. Defendant meets Sean Shibley. A business dinner becomes personal. What a gross piece of crap. In October 2002, I love that I was like, I want to come in here with a, clear mind. And I'm like, you are lower than whale, feces. You're just gross. I'm like, state, I'm with you. And normally I'm not with the state because sometimes you're a little shady, but I love me some footnotes. Let's see. In October 2002, the defendant and his sales associate, Eric Olson, went to Disneyland Hotel in Anaheim to attend the California Association of Pest Control Advisors, a 3-day pest control trade show. Who the hell does a pest control trade show? Can you imagine? No. Oh my god, do they have, like, a real life-size Dale Gribble there? Because I would effing take a picture. Like, I if they had a stand-up cardboard Dale Gribble, I would put it in my office. I love Rusty Shackelford. That would be the only way I'd attend this controlled trade show. Ew. On the first night of the conference, the defendant and Olson went out to dinner with David Fernandez, who had previously worked with Olson and a female named Shawn Shibley, who the defendant and Olson met at the conference. As they walked into the restaurant, the defendant asked Shibley what he would write on the backside of his name tag that would attract women to him that night. For the love of all that is holy. Scott, Lord Chippy is hungry, and I am irritated. So, Lord Chippy rules. Thank you, Squab Bob. Oh, no one. So my first marriage wasn't great, but there were a lot of issues that I ignored. And you just can. You can ignore it. You can kind of, put it to the back of your mind because you are so intent on making this family work that you ignore things. But there does come a point where there's just no turning back. And I think Lacey would have reached that point. I think if Scott didn't turn around when she had Connor, she would have gone by herself. Lacey seems like someone that would be able to pick herself up and be the most awesome mom to Connor and, double deuces, fingers fully erect to Scott. And he probably knew that and didn't want to deal with alimony, with child support, with anything else. So she wrote, I'm rich on the defendant's name tag because the defendant was talking about owning 2 houses and having a lot of money, launching this company and being successful. His headcanon is so ridiculous. The defendant told Sibley he lived in Sacramento. During dinner, the defendant moved the conversation away from business and began asking personal questions of Sibley. The defendant told Sibley, who is a vegetarian, that during college he became a vegetarian for a short time for a girl just for great smexy time. How is that supposed to endear you to anyone? As a chick and I met you and I was able to get past resting douche face, you telling me that you basically changed just for a little bit for some smexy time puts you in the I will never talk to you again and I hope I get away from you soon pile. The defendant constantly redirected the conversation to smexy time, even though Sibley had repeatedly told the defendant she was engaged. The defendant pressed Sibley to determine how committed she was in her relationship with her fiancé and what her favorite positions were for the married tango. Sir, I don't know you. You have a name tag. Are you on a registry? Can you be legally near a school? You are a gross, slimy human being, and I probably can see the tan line on your ring finger because you are not slick, you dumbass. I know. I'm about there. The state doesn't have to present anything else. I'm like, he's all the guilty. Lock him in with Daryl Brooks. They can both annoy each other in perpetuity. The defendant never told Sibley that he was married. The conversations, oh God, he was doing it in front of his freaking, con fan and his employee. What a gross sack of crap. I would never ask, look, I'll ask weird questions if I want to know about your weird stuff, but I wouldn't do it in front of other people to make you, embarrassed. That's a douchey move. If I'm going to ask you about your freak flag, in our commune of introverts, I'll ask in a private place so you don't feel weirded out by everyone knowing this. But What a gross, disgusting human being. After dinner, the defendant and Sibley went back to the Disneyland Hotel bar and continued to drink and talk. The defendant indicated that he had a lot of one night stands, and it seems like all the women he met were just these bimbos with no brain. Ew, you're so gross. Please tell me she saw through this, please. Please don't tell me that she fell for it because I'm going to lose faith and go full Bronca, repeal the 19th. Okay. The defendant was interested in finding someone who had intelligence. Did he watch Wedding Crashers? I swear to all that is holy. He watched. Was Wedding Crashers available during this? Because I believe he's just doing that. He asked Sibley to hook him up with her single friends. As the night went on, the defendant pressed her. Sibley agreed that if the defendant was serious about having a long-term, meaningful relationship, then Sibley would introduce him to her friend Amber. Amber Fry and Sean Sibley were best friends. The defendant wanted to know what Amber looked like and indicated he liked thin women. You absolute douche canoe butt face. You probably have 4 inches and no talent. It's probably the best 45 seconds of your life, and your partner has a bag of toys on the other side. You are a gross, disgusting human being. And I'm glad Jesus loves you because everyone else thinks you're a cunt. I'm almost 2 hours in. The defendant was interested in meeting Amber. After the conference, Sibley and the defendant continued to communicate by phone calls and email. In one of the email, the defendant said he had gone to Mammoth to ski and was looking for snow bunnies up there. Sibley ended the email by saying, "See you later, HB," which stood for horny bastard because the defendant had previously indicated he was going to have the words horny bastard put on his business cards. Y'all, I can't. What in the actual Hades of all the things? Thanks, guys. I guess if I had gone to this particular, pain clinic first, I would have a much different reaction. But having gone through going to multiple doctors and kind of having nothing work, I'm not raising my hopes. I'm willing to give it a try, but I don't know. It sounds like a bunch of hippie BS if you ask me. But my attitude is like, I am in full F deficit on that stuff. So I'm sure I am going to work on my attitude at some point. It is. It's a series of learning how to deal with things not quite possibly working your way. So I'm just not putting my hopes up too high. And 3 1-hour appointments, I'm kind of dreading the physical therapy because what they'll do is they'll check range of motion. They'll probably rub my leg with various things to see what, triggers that to work on desensitizing. But basically what it means for me is that I am going to have a rough day. And that's also part of my thing. It's if they seem like they're going to do a good job and actually help, then I think my attitude will change. But right now I'm just looking at a day where I'm going to be in a lot of pain, and I understand the necessity of it for different reasons, but I also know what I'm in for. And it's like, I wanted to do so much this week. It's a whole bunch of things. People, you guys understand, chronic pain or kind of an odd diagnosis. And it's just a lot of working on accepting things that you have to. It's just, I don't do limits. Y'all tell me we're probably not going to get along without telling me we're probably not going to get along. When my first question is, what was the gender you were assigned at birth? And I'm like, we're not going to get along. I can just feel it. What I am going to do, and because I am this person, I am going to wear my t-shirt that says, "You're hilarious, thanks, it's the trauma." I always wear it to first appointments with these people because, one year all the kids got presents from Satan because when you rap at 3 a.m., it might happen. My husband was like, "You said they're from Satan." I was like, "Oh, well, it's 3 a.m. What do you want from me?" The defendant is looking for a serious relationship. I will probably end up here for this section, and I will probably go back and do the reading with my mic actually working. So it'll be on this live stream, but I'll also do kind of a video in sequence. Uh, yep, I was given options of questioning, two spirit, unidentified, agnostic, not agnostic, asexual, or I was just like, and then they're like, what do you, identify as your race? And I just put human. We are all human. Stop making us try to find the difference. It's different on the outside, same on the inside. Stop with all this, dissecting us down into little groups to be, you know, to be a monolith. Not everyone is everything. Don't judge people by the outside container. I thought that was where we were going with this, but apparently not. Ugh. So it was either that or wear, like Archer for president. But I think I'll wear my black, you're hilarious, thinks it's the trauma uh, t-shirt, because I always do. During November, Sean Shibley gave the defendant Amber Fry's phone number so they could set up a date. The defendant called Amber and they agreed to meet in the middle of the week when he was coming down for work. As they talked, the defendant asked Amber if she was intelligent. She says, "No, I'm dumb as a box of rocks. I am a blonde." Who the hell asks that question? And who the hell answers it with, "No, I'm a midwit. I know big words, but I don't understand their meaning. But I use them sprinkled into my vocabulary." I mean, I would just look at him and blink, like the slow blink guy, the cat guy. Thanks, Zach. It's the same as everyone here. We all deal with our own things. That's why I try to tell everyone, be kind, try to be nice, give someone a compliment. I mean, I don't know. Some people might have not gotten a compliment in years. So I try to do that and also I'm an introvert and I don't do the talking or the peopling well. So if I give people compliments, I can do that. They smile and I can walk away. Except when you get stuck with that one person that just will chat their life away and you're like, "Ma'am, I appreciate this, but the battery on your scooter is about to die. I would like to just go home and not people." Oh, Lord. Yeah, the behavior science people are gonna have a real trippy time with me. So on Wednesday, November 20th, 2002, while the defendant was out of town for business, Lacey attended a get-together with several of her girlfriends at Lori Ellsworth's house. They watched the final series of The Bachelor together. Meanwhile, the same night, the defendant had his first date with Amber Fry. You are not Cody Brown. You have none of the LDS, loopholes. Well, for the fundamentalist, but who the hell are you, sir? Amber Fry, she is not your Robin. What the hell is going on here? Sibley agreed to watch Amber's 21-month-old daughter during the date. The plan was to meet at the Elephant Bar in Fresno, then go to a Japanese restaurant for dinner. Amber was waiting in the waiting area of the Elephant Bar when the defendant walked in and greeted her with a big grin. He said he worked all day. What? Look, public service announcement, cranial rectitis is a serious disease, and it happens to a lot of douchey people. But inserting your own head so firmly up your ass will limit your oxygen intake and also, screw with your moral compass. I recommend, Dr. Mo, the fake doctor, Dr. Mo medicine woman, I recommend fully removing your head out of your ass. But that's just me. Oh, yes. I will be very, um look, I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna try to work with their program, but it's also I'm kind of just realistically looking at them sending me somewhere else to do this all over again, and it gets exhausting sometimes. Oh my god. Please let my practitioner be Scott Peterson, but spelled differently, 'cause 2024, I need this in my life. Let it be Scott Peterson. Let there be an Amber somewhere, just for funsies. The defendant was wearing a suit. After the meeting, the defendant indicated he did not have a chance to check into his hotel yet and asked Amber to go with him so he could change his clothes before they went to dinner. Please tell me you saw through this, Amber. They left together in the defendant's truck and went to the Radisson Hotel in Fresno. The defendant checked in and Amber accompanied him to his hotel room. Once in the room, the defendant behaved like a gentleman. Yeah, you can act for about 10 minutes. That's like my that's like my youngest son telling me I was good most of the day. And I'm like, "Yeah, so that time you were touching all the things that aren't yours?" Well, he's like, "I was good most of the day." He opened his brown leather duffel bag and pulled out a bottle of champagne and boxes of strawberries. Sir, did you watch every cheesy romance movie of the 80s? Did you watch all the Lifetime movies? He showered and changed his clothes. They went to the restaurant where the defendant arranged for a private room for them to have dinner. Good move, Scott, because you don't want people to see you, dating while your wife is pregnant watching The Bachelor. I mean, you did put some forethought into this. Congratulations. They stayed there for 3 hours, enjoying each other's company until the restaurant closed. Now, y'all, I am one suspicious, Mo. I would be checking his hand. I would be looking for like that little tan thing that, I would this this guy completely repulses me. And really it's just some people have that thing and you can tell they're about as shallow as, well, Amber Heard's acting and, the lakes on the salt bed, salt flats. It's just it He's just like Chandler Halderson. Had he put all of this energy into actually getting a job and finishing college, he wouldn't have to, be a family annihilator. If Scott had put all this energy into romancing his wife, because look, you do get used to people, things are fireworks in the beginning, then you have, a wild feral child who can't be separated from you ever. So, things change, but if you put effort into, maintaining your marriage, doing things, he could have had the most wonderful marriage. I mean, he could have put all of this energy into being a good husband. Yeah, Chandler Halderson. And well, I mean, they were just different looks. I Lacey had that, I want to say that casual, just grace, that kind of Grace Kelly look from what I've seen. She always seems very um, casually put together. Like, it may be like a PJ day or something, but she just has this aura of someone put together. So it does really bother me that, he had that person at home. And look, I have been cheated on. I do not like it. I am pretty sure that my two older girls have half siblings that they don't know about, and I don't care enough to go find. Uh, but seeing that through this lens, it's so sad and your heart breaks. But my voice is getting tired. I need to make sure that uh, here, need to make sure that El Cato gets 11sies or next breakfast. He's a very good purr. Now, if I could just get him to stop attacking my feet. But I will be doing all of these videos. I will be reading this. Um, I will be redoing this reading probably tonight or tomorrow because I can do that from my bed uh, and sit down. I've got a new chair because uh, Mr. Mo is generally right about things, but I don't tell him, and you can't tell him. I got the very cheapest grafting chair, and it's kind of built like a slide. It doesn't really fit. And Mr. Mo's like, just get the big chair and, don't worry about the money. If we have to buy, three chairs, then it's going to cost more than buying this one good one. So I'm I'm definitely trying to work on this new setup. You are such a dingus. I did make him get a bell collar because he is black and white and tends to fade into the background. But he is, I will say the Maine Coons are exceptionally, uh, for a cat, very interested in being around people, not shy at all, except for the other cats. But I feel bad for the other cats because Thor definitely thinks he's the leader. And, well, Dingus over there is going to be much bigger than him. I need an attack, combat cat just in case. There are too many weird people on the internet. Anyhoozle, guys, I will be working on recording this, and then I will have nightly newsy news at the normal time, and I'll probably hang out with Shizzy for a little bit. But I am going to go get some dinner. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will be re-recording this since StreamYard is a dingus. Oh, good night. It's very hard to deal with chronic pain and then have doctors not really understand it. So when I am president, we are increasing funding for pain relief and things like that. Have a wonderful day. I will see you guys in a little bit. And, be kind to yourself, be kind to someone else. Compliments are a great way for us introverts to people without peopling because you can walk away unless you get stuck with that one talker person and then you just wave your hand and like do the little, hey, I see ya kind of move and run fastly away. Anywho, so bye guys.